Well, g'day, Couch Critics. Welcome back to another episode. And as we love doing every start of the A-League men's season, we're going to be previewing the entire season. We're going to be having a look at all the 12 clubs where we think they're going to end up. Some of their key players, some of their key signings for Adelaide. It's their only key signing. But before we get into all of that, we want to discuss the big news that happened this week, and that's obviously we're getting an extra round of football. And football's coming home, or at least going back to its traditional format with the grand final. Samuel, big news this week. What did you think of it when you heard about it?
Yeah, when you just said football's coming home, I thought you were talking about the Unite round. And I was like, mate, you're going to make a lot of people angry saying that
Football's
football.
coming back to Sydney. Wearable anyway. No,
No, it's
no, I'm talking about the grand final.
yeah, obviously it's just it's common sense, but it is good. And I've seen some differing views on it. Some people are like, I'm just excited. I think it's the right decision, and it's
Mm.
a fantastic way to get the grand final back. You've listened to the fans. That's fantastic. Some people are like, yeah, but like, we shouldn't be praising them for just doing what they should have done all along. But I think it's a positive move that we've gotten a lot of things that the fans have kind of been pushing for, like pause and rewind on Paramount Plus. You
Mm.
can pause a game. You don't have to watch it right when it's happening. You can
What a
actually,
time to be alive. Didn't you
oh,
share the gif from
yeah, The Office.
The Office
It's
when
happening.
Pam goes into labor or something? Yeah.
It's just, that's good. The fans been, you know, absolutely smashing Paramount for that for 2 years. But this grand final decision, yeah, that we don't need to re-talk about what happened last year. Everyone knows, but
Yeah.
it's just a
Yeah.
it's great outcome for the league. And so that's really exciting. I'm looking forward to Sydney FC winning the championship, and then, the premiership, and then hosting the final of the championship in Sydney, and everyone coming to Sydney for the grand final anyway. So that'll be great.
Sure. All right. Well, maybe we'll leave it there.
No, but the
No,
youth round as well, Bradley. What do you make of that?
oh, it sucks because I'll be overseas at that time. I won't be able to go to it, which is a bit of a bummer. But no, that's fine. I've warmed to the idea of it. Obviously, it's been quite successful in the NRL and AFL, but obviously the A League doesn't have the support that those two competitions have. But I do think people want to get around it and go to Sydney for a weekend and watch 6 or more games in the men and the women competitions. Yeah, like I don't mind the idea. I think it's a nice compromise from getting rid of that crap old grand final decision. So yeah, I don't mind it. A bit different to the NRL had all the games at the one venue. The AFL, it's probably similar to the AFL. They had one main venue and a few other venues they used as well. I'll be wondering if anyone will be able to get to all the games in both the men and the women. There should be some kind of achievement for that, some kind of award if you can. But I think it's going to be very tricky. I don't think you'll be able to watch all the games. You might be able to get a half in or something like that.
No, I think you'll have to, make your choice between kind of one game at each venue.
Mm.
You want to do that, but I think it's cool that you've got 2 games at every venue on every day, which is just fantastic. I think it's also quite awesome to see, just the men's and women's competitions at the
Mm.
same place. Like that's something the A League is constantly been kind of the forerunner in Australia for promoting the
Mm.
women's game and making it somewhat equal to the men's.
Yeah.
So I think that's a fantastic initiative. And I'm a bit skeptical of Leichhardt being the third ground.
Yeah, it's a very hard ground to get to, unlike the other two, well, Parramatta and Moore Park.
I think the positive is if you take the light rail from Allianz, you could take the light rail out to
Okay.
Leichhardt and walk up. So potentially that works with the public transport. If you're coming from Parramatta to Leichhardt, though, that's going to be a bit tricky. Yeah, so I think it's a really awesome idea. I'm really excited for it. I'll be kind of on holidays and 3 games of football in 2 days. No, my wife probably wouldn't like that, but I think it's pretty cool. So,
Mm.
and it just kind of makes sense as well. This should have always been what the deal was with Destination New South Wales, because every every club, if you're a fan, no matter what club, you're going to see your team play. So
Mm.
why would you travel? like a normal away day, but
Hmm.
make it a mega, I could go and watch a game on Friday, watch my team on Saturday, watch another game on Sunday. You're going to stay in a hotel for those times. You're going to, take Ubers, you're going to eat out. You're going to it's going to have so much more potential than a one-off grand final that they didn't really do well, that only two teams would have been interested in. Like, this makes so much more sense. And so I think it's great. And we get an extra round out of it as well for the men's. It's going to be a 27 round season, which is it's a little interesting because already the 26 rounds is a bit weird.
Yeah.
So
I think next year when we go up to 14 teams, it'll make a lot more sense where we play everyone home. If that's the way they want to do it, they want to play everyone home and away once and then an extra round for 27. I like the idea to be spread around to other cities, but Sydney obviously is an ideal location because it has enough rectangle venues. I think Brisbane would be the next ideal place, but it just doesn't have the infrastructure as Sydney does.
Yeah, Melbourne could potentially do it. You could have Docklands, you could have Amy Park, and you could have the Olympic, where Melbourne, South Melbourne. That's what they're called, where they play.
Yeah, I remember the last time they tried to play A-League games there, and that didn't go down well. But that's a crap ground for football, and so is Docklands as well. So, but yeah, that could potentially happen. But in terms of rectangle infrastructure, I think Sydney's got this. Like, if they want to keep doing it forever, I think Sydney will be the ideal place for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we will move on to the kind of the preview part of this video / pod. Also, nice reminder that if you haven't liked the video yet, please do so and subscribe and leave a comment below if you're on YouTube. I guess the best way to do it is alphabetically, and I think we might as well start with Adelaide United. And there's no need to talk about a key signing because they've only had one signing in that Englishman, Ryan Tunnicliffe. So I guess, what are your thoughts on Adelaide heading into the season? They've lost quite a few key players. Craig Goodwin, the obvious one.
They have lost key players. Obviously, only bringing in Ryan Tunnicliffe is an interesting decision from them. I think they'll probably rely a lot more on some of their youth players. So players like Johnny Yule, I think we'll see get a whole lot more game time in that midfield. Louis Dorigo, I think should get some more opportunities, which is really exciting. Up front, they've still got Ibasuki, who's been good for them, and he's had his injury concerns, but George Blackwood has been a fairly okay understudy to him. So I don't think they're in massive danger, but when you lose somebody the size of Craig Goodwin, I think that's going to hurt. And players like Isaias isn't getting younger. Javi Lopez, has he retired? I'm not exactly sure. If not, he's also getting quite old. So I think it is going to be a difficult kind of season to see Irankunda. Obviously, the news is Bayern Munich are waiting for him to turn 18 before they jump on him. So will that happen kind of mid-season? Will we see him leave? Will he get more game time and actually start some more games this season? I think that would be good. But he's their kind of star now. And that's a lot of weight to put on a 17-year-old's shoulders.
Javi Lopez is still there.
Wow.
You were saying he retired, but 1 day's left. Luis Dorigo, Craig Goodwin, George Blackwood. So there's a few.
Luis Dorigo and George Blackwood have both left. Okay. Maybe they are actually in some danger then.
Yeah, it's not looking particularly good compared to last year when they were only a game away from the grand final. Where do you reckon they're going to finish this year?
Well, we'll give our full predictions at the end.
Well, we want to do that then. Okay.
But I think I'm going to say they're going to be in the struggling, the bottom end of the mid-table to the strugglers.
So somewhere in the middle or a bit lower?
Yeah, lower. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
How about for you, Belly?
Yeah, probably. I think they might be in that similar kind of position unless we see some big players stepping up. I expect Irankunda to step up, but yeah, I guess time will tell. Bit interesting one. I think we're going to different kind of club here. When we talk about Adelaide losing a lot of players, looking a bit downwards on after some really good years. Brisbane
Mm.
I've seen a lot of people talking about how they reckon they're going to have a really good year. They had a great run in the Australia Cup to the Australia Cup final. They did play a lot of NPL clubs along the way, but I think there's a positive vibe around Brisbane for the first time in a long time. And I think their CEO, Maz,
Uh, Kaz Patafta.
yeah, I think he's got a big part in that. So
Yeah.
seems like he's doing a really good job. And I think Florent Berengar's their best pickup they've got from City. Alex Parsons is back. I think those are probably the big ones. Shay Cahill, Timmy
Yeah.
Cahill's son. I don't know
Mm.
if he'll be any good, but are you buying into the hype that Brisbane Roar could be in for a big season? I don't think anyone's tipping them to win it, but I think they're tipping them to maybe push top four. A lot of people.
Yeah, I think the hype is somewhat justified. I think things were looking really dire for a while for the club, but Ross Aloisi, I think you know what you're going to get from him. Like he's trying to play proper football, and bringing in a player like Berenguer is a fantastic option. But they've always had a pretty solid defensive line, and so you know they're going to be tough to break down, and then play with some creativity. But as well, like Ross Aloisi, he's not going to take any crap. He's going to have them fit and ready to run through brick walls. And so I think we are going to see a completely different Brisbane Roar side to who we've seen over the last couple of seasons. And some of those players who have just kind of gotten older and better. I think Kai Truan for them is potentially going to have one of those seasons where he's kind of flown under the radar, but been getting better and better because he's been thrown in since he was quite young, and I think this season he could really show some people just how good he is. And then of course Thomas Waddingham, I think, is the young to watch for them. 18 years old,
and he's on a scholarship contract.
On a scholarship, but he's been leading the line, and from all indications, it looks like he'll continue to do that into the A-League season because they don't really have another striker who of great quality. So I think we could see. I think he's a bit of a surprise package for people, and he proved it against Sydney FC. He can score in big occasions. He's in the right areas. People seem to rate him. So I think this could be an uncovering of a bit of a superstar in Brisbane.
I think I was really impressed with their first half in the Australia Cup final. I think if they play like that,
yeah,
I think they'll go really deep into this competition. They play like they did in the second half, they'll be battling for the wooden spoon. That was I don't know, it was a completely different team coming out in that second half from Brisbane, and they kind of just gave so much space, so much space. I mean, so many times I saw Ryan Grant in space. I'm like, how is this happening? Like, but yeah, like if they play like they do on a regular basis like they did in that first half, I think they're in for a really good season. I've got him in the mix of making the six.
Yeah, same here. I think they're going to be up there this season.
Yeah, cool. Well, Mariners next, and boy, they've lost a few players after winning that grand final. Sam Silvera, Benny Nicolo, Maresh, James McGarry, Jason Cummings. There's a heap of others as well, but those are probably some of the more noticeable ones. They've picked up that Angel Torres. I saw a bit of him in the AFC Cup. Alec Quall's back, but I think they've lost way more than they've picked up, and I think the only way is down for them. They did win the grand final last year, so if they don't win it, obviously it's down for them. But you think they're in for a rough season, or will they still scrap into the six?
I think they have some really exciting players. I don't think that's their issue. I think my worry is the coach.
Okay.
I think it's such a downgrade from Nick Montgomery to go with this Jones fella. Like, obviously the club thought they're making the right decision, but I don't think he's going to be playing the same kind of football. I don't think he's got the relational credit to have these players playing for him. Montgomery did. I think that's going to be their biggest problem this season. It's not that they haven't got the talent. They've got some really great players. Keeping some of their Brazilians around has been really good. Some of the players they've added look quality. They've got great young players. We love Josh Nisbet, little pocket rocket. I think it's going to be the systems and the kind of the leadership from the top that's probably going to hurt them this season.
Yeah. I guess time will tell. We haven't really seen them under this new coach because they were knocked out of the Australia Cup, I think, in the first round. So I guess Friday night in the season opener against Adelaide will be a good indication of how this new manager is going to stack up for the club. Where have you got him?
Uh,
Vaguely, where have you got him?
yeah, I haven't got them making the top six
Okay.
season. I think they're going to fall out. I think it's just too much turmoil, and lost a lot. Yeah, so no six for me. What about you, Brad?
I think they'll make the six.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I've got to say. There's not much to say about this next club, Macarthur. Well, maybe there's a little bit. The Jermaine Frenchman guy, I think he's been a really good pickup. Daniel Nizic, he's not a bad goalkeeper. He comes from Sydney United. Daniel De Silva, Matt Yerman. Like, I don't know. Like, do we care about Macarthur? Wouldn't spoon us last year. Do we
Yeah,
think they're gonna be challenging at all for a
I
final spot?
I think we do care about
Oh,
them.
okay.
I think they've still got a fairly decent side. Like I think obviously they've got a full season, full off season under Mile
Yeah.
Stojovski now, which can be good. I think they've still got some talented players. Um, do I think they're going to set the world alight? No, I think they're still not quite.
Hmm.
There's still positions where they need to strengthen. They're not as bad as some other clubs here though, and I think having some stability will be good for them. So last season was pretty rough. I think just Mile Stojovski's got his head on his shoulders. He's got his head screwed on properly, and I think that makes a lot of difference. Whether or not their chairman or whoever's running kind of the back end of the club, that's another story. If they can just actually stay out of it and let the football side of things do the football side of
Mhm.
things, I think they'll be okay. I don't think they'll make the six though, and I don't know of any young players who I'm really, new upcoming players from them that are going to
Lockie
set.
Rose. What about Lockie Rose?
I don't
You
think
know
we
he
can.
was in MPL3, didn't you?
I don't think we can call him young anymore. Like, maybe there's, Rafael Borges Rodriguez who's moved from Melbourne City looking for some game time. Like that, that's a pretty good pickup for them if he gets utilized and can show us what he's got. That could be good, but
Hmm.
yeah, Lockie Rose is no longer a young player.
He's 24, but like remember he played MPL3 with the Spirit. Like, don't forget about that. Anyway, yeah. Where you got him? I've got him. They'll be down the bottom of the ladder, not on the bottom, but they'll be around that area.
I've got them in the middle of the table, but
Okay.
outside the six.
Okay. Cool. Well, I just closed the tab that I had Melbourne City open, but yeah, Melbourne City, I think for me will be. I know they've lost quite a loss. I think Valen Barisha will probably be one of their biggest losses.
Yep.
But like just going through the list, they've lost so many good players: Tom Glover, Aidan O'Neill, Thomas Lam, Richard Van der Vey, Marco Tilio, Florin Berengar. Like that's a Jordan Boss as well. Scott Jamison's retired. That's a big loss of players. But you look at who they brought in, like Tolga Arslan. From what we've seen, well, what I've seen in the Australia Cup, he looks like a quality pickup from Italy. Jamie Young will be a very reliable. I know he's like 50, but he'll be a very reliable goalkeeper.
Yep.
And then I don't know. I think Melbourne City is a club that's fairly decent, getting the best out of some average players, and I think they'll probably get the best out of Ugarkovic and Terry Antonis if they play. Some of these other European signings I don't know too much about. Samuel Cyprian, Marin, Jackalis. Oh, Arzi Bay just signed as well. So I think I still think even with who they brought in, I still think they're going to have a pretty good season.
Yeah, look, they've also brought in a Brazilian who looks like he's quite
Oh,
handy.
from
Leo
Corinthians, yeah.
Natel.
Mm.
He looks really good. They've loaned Hasmasaki from Auxerre, and Jackalis looks pretty decent, and he doesn't even count as a foreign player for them because he has Australian citizenship.
Oh, okay.
So that's a really handy pickup. He's apparently said he wants to try and make it into the Socceroos. So I think that's pretty crazy. Um, yeah, I think they've made good signings.
Mm.
Again, like they've probably got the best squad overall in the league when you look at it.
Mm.
Really good. But again, similar to Macarthur, I don't think the players are the issue. I think Rado Ball is is such a step down from what they had with Kisnorbo, and you saw that towards the end of the season. They
Mm.
definitely fell off. You've seen it in preseason. They don't look quite as good. They got a win in China in the Asian Champions League. That's good, and we want them
Mm.
to do well there because it bodes well for the rest of Australian clubs in the future. I don't think Rado makes it through the season in charge of this club though, and I think Kisnorbo probably comes back.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. He'll get sacked
Um,
soon from his French club, and he can take the job back.
that could be their saving grace. It's for me, it's how long does it take for them to make that change of coach? Because I think the longer Rado stays there, the less their chance of winning the premiership looks. And so
Mm.
if they can make that early, I think there's still a good chance. If not, they might struggle.
Cool. Well, I'm sorry, there's a bit of a lag there. My internet mustn't be going too well, so I think Samuel's voice was a bit behind his lips. But we'll talk about where do you think they're going to finish? I think they'll be up the top end of the ladder.
Yeah, like I said, I think they're definitely challenges if they make the right decisions. If Rado stays past kind of let's say January, I think they're still in the six, but only just.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to the other Melbourne club, Melbourne Victory. I don't think they're going to have I don't think they can have a more worse season than they did last year. I just think everything fell apart for them. The bucket scene at the stadium and the derby, and then just underperforming. I think on paper they're a lot better. They should be competing for the six, but I don't know. Have they had enough of Tony Popovich? Have they had enough of the way he coaches his players? He works them quite hard. Don't know, Samuel. What do you think of this team?
Yeah, look, I think it can't be as bad as last season. I think they've made some okay signings as well. So
Mm.
players like Zinedine Machak looks pretty good. Adama Traore coming back is that's nice. Arzani, who knows? Like he could be good, he could be crap,
He could be injured.
he could be wearing a hat. Like it's really a bit tricky to tell. I think the best signing for them is Ryan Teague from Portugal.
Mm.
Obviously an ex-Sydney FC youngster. I think that's the big pickup for them. So, yeah, is it going to be as bad as last year? I don't think so. I think they're going to return kind of back towards the top end of the table, but it still doesn't seem all right there. I think quite
Mm.
they don't present as the big club that they were a couple of years ago, and so for me, Popper's got a big job. He doesn't often stay at clubs longer than 2 seasons. So the fact that he's back for season 3, we could see back to what his first season was. That will be the case. He'll have them running hard,
Mm.
or it could just all fall apart.
Yeah.
It really feels like they're a club on a knife edge.
Yep. Speaking of a knife edge, Newcastle Jets. Do we see them finishing anywhere above 10th,
No,
above
really.
11th?
Like if everything goes their way this season, they could come 11th. Like not they've made one okay signing. This Bertomier, French guy. Really, I don't know much about him, but anytime you see a Frenchman coming from a French league, you go, "Oh, look, he must be okay." But
Mm.
the rest of their signings, a lot of them are from MPL level.
Yeah.
A lot of them are not, the top players from other clubs. So I think they're going to struggle, and mostly it's because everything off field is just trundling along, being run by other clubs in the league.
Mm.
Just no one really cares about the Jets. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
like so I mean their fans obviously care about them, but no one is caring for that club
Yeah.
from the top level. And you're just never going to run a successful football team when no one cares. So I
Yeah.
think it's going to be really tough for them this season again. And I really do hope they find someone. Perth only took a couple of months to get someone decent who's not selling crypto to buy them and to to take over the club. It really is strange that the Jets can't find anyone.
Yeah. Yeah, no, hopefully they can find an owner soon. And obviously, yeah, like it can be a whole video on its own, just what's going on with Newcastle. So I think we wish them all the best in terms of the off field stuff, because we can't afford to lose another A-League team. I don't think it'll come. Well, you never know. Like it's been a number of years now that an owner, so they really need to get their stuff sorted. Yeah. Anyway, speaking of ownership issues, luckily it's restored for this club, Perth Glory. I was in a lot of people going online and saying they're going to have a good year, and people ask why, and they say just Alan Stadgic. I was like, I know he's a good coach, but that's not a good enough reason to be tipping Perth to have a really good season. Do you think they'll have a good year?
No, I don't really think so. I think, you know, Ollie Sale is a really good signing from them.
Yeah.
That was announced kind of halfway through last season almost. It feels like it was,
Mm.
it was ages ago. A good goalkeeper is good, but I mean, you got Bazanik is at another club again. Bruce Kamau's playing for his like 15th A-League club, I think it feels like. Schusner again is an okay signing for them, but he never really did anything amazing for Macarthur when he was there. Like I just kind of, yeah, again it's not the best. I'm excited actually to see Stephen Kolakowski come out of his cage that Ruben Zadkovic had him in, and maybe he might actually
Mm.
set, touch grass this season. That would be really good for them. But yeah,
Mm.
look, Stagis he's a great coach, and he did fantastic things with the Philippines women's team at the World Cup. Credit to him.
Mm.
He should never have been kind of. Was he? Well, he was at the Mariners, and did he? Was he at Macarthur? No.
No, that was Ante Milicic, who I
Um,
think coached after him
that's
at
right.
Matildas.
Yeah. But yeah, look, he's a good coach. Again, I don't. This is the opposite to some of the other clubs. I don't think they have the players to really challenge this season.
No, but I'm expecting a more improved season from them.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Coley. Kid with the blonde hair, smacking shots from 30 yards out. He looks talented, and I think he can create special moments for them. I just think it's not quite enough. It's good that they're back at their kind of home ground, NIB,
Yep.
in Perth, this season. Macedonia Park was fun, but yeah, they can draw big crowds than 4,000, so it's good to see
Yeah,
them
they
back.
should be. Yep. All right. Well, let's move on to Sydney FC.
Mm.
You want to talk about some of their signings?
Look, I think they've made good signings that have actually strengthened. Obviously, the centre back area was a player people were pretty worried about, and last season wasn't good enough.
Mm.
Wilco retiring, James Donachie's left. That left a bit of a hole. It looks like Rodwell is not fit for the first game of the season. Colour me surprised.
Just when he started having a good run.
But I think the new Brazilian, Lacerda, he looks like he's quite good. We've seen him for 2 games, so it's
Which
hard to
is
tell.
Fabio Gomez.
No, this is Lacerda,
Okay.
centre back. Gomez is up front, and
Mm.
we saw him score with his first touch and then score a second in that cup final. I think he's a really good signing. It looked for a while like Paddy Wood was going to be leading the line, but Gomez looks better,
A lot better.
a lot better.
I've only seen 45 minutes of him though, but
Yeah, I like Paddy Wood, and he was scoring in the Australia Cup
Mm.
rounds, but I think that Gomez will probably get the nod ahead of him for the start of the season if he's fit.
Mm.
I think as well, like, Joe Lolly will be like a new signing. He's had a season under his belt, and he looked good last season, but I think he's going to take it to a whole nother level this season. Robbie Mack has just been consistently good, and I think he'll continue to be. Nathan Amanatides is a great young signing for Sydney, and just promoting a couple of those younger players. Yeah, I think Jake Goodwood-Reich, Corey Holman, like these players, I think they're going to do pretty good, and so I think they're up there with one of the strongest squads this season.
Yeah, no, I probably agree. From what I've seen, I've only seen a little bit of him in the Australia Cup, but they look really strong. There, Fabio Gomez, I think, could be a real talent. I reckon. I get Luis Suarez vibes. I get the vibe that he could score 25 goals a season, but just do something completely stupid and bite someone or punch someone. Don't know if that's the South American in him, but I think he'll be really exciting for you guys. And yeah, Joel King, I think they're going to have a really good season.
Yeah.
It kills me to say that, but let's not dwell on that too much, and we'll travel across the ditch to Wellington in their last season as the only professional New Zealand team in the competition.
Mm.
Looking here, it's not a big squad. Like, I'm only seeing about 19, 18 players. They've
They're
only brought in Mohamed Altay and Jack Duncan from Newcastle, and they've lost quite a few. It's I thought I was harsh when I was putting my prediction for Wellington, as I always do a very harsh prediction for them every year. But having a look at that squad, that is a thin squad.
Yeah, look, I think they're trying to rely on Kiwi kind of players and players from within the club. They're really trying to work hard to progress players up from the
Mm,
youth team into the first team. But, you know, losing Clayton Lewis, Ollie Sale, Callan Elliott, big loss. Josh Laws played a bit. Jan Sass was quite good for them last season. So
mm.
a bit sad to see him leaving as well. The Chief, the coach for this season.
Giancarlo Italiano.
Yeah, yeah. The Chief, I reckon, is the best way to go about him.
Yeah,
He
that's
looks
probably
like
better.
that kind. I think he'll have the respect of the players. I think he looks
Mm,
like a great guy. Just don't think it's. Yeah, look, we do say this about Wellington quite often. We do underrate them. They do still have Bojdir Krayev and um Zavada up front,
mm.
and those are really good players to retain who were fantastic last year. Yeah, I just don't think they've really done enough to replace some of those big losses. Jack Duncan in for Ollie Sale doesn't quite feel the same. Losing Ugarkovic is huge in their midfield.
Yeah. Where do you reckon?
Yeah, look, I've got them down the bottom. I think they're struggling this season.
Yeah, can't disagree with you there. Whoop. Well, let's move on to the Western Sydney Wanderers, and I think a bit like Brisbane Roar. I've seen a lot of tips online, and they reckon they're going to finish quite high, like first or second. And I don't know if it's just me because I've just endured so many years of crap. I can't really come to the concept of considering them a good team. I don't know. What do you think on that?
Yeah, look, it's the same. I never considered them a good team either. Um, that's just history. But
Come on,
no,
impartial. Let's give us an impartial view this time.
look, I think they've made some really good signings. That's for sure. Dylan Paredes is fantastic. Lockie Brook coming in, I think, is a great
Mm,
move for them. And if Brandon Borello can continue his form, which I'm pretty sure he can, he was one of the best. Like he was top three players of last season in the A League. So I think those are really good moves for them. Obviously, Hendricks coming in is quite big for them. That's a great overseas signing, a great use of uh, an overseas player spot, and Antonsen as well. Looks like he could be an okay striker. There was a couple of clubs in for him, so he must have something about him. So I think they're good signings. Yeah, I don't know what it is about. Well, I think it's funny that even Wanderers fans aren't particularly, hyped. Yeah, you had a great season last season. Like things were going really well, and it kind of fell off towards the end. And I wonder if that leaving things like that just kind of for people went, oh, that's our level. Um, like your losses haven't been the biggest. Schneiderling was a bit sad to lose, but you only really had him on loan. Yangi only scored in Sydney derbies. Neuenhof's the biggest loss, I think,
yeah,
for
yeah.
the Wanderers. And so I think the players they've brought in improved them. I think maybe just other clubs are improving too. So it is kind of hard to say. I don't think they're challenging for the very top, but they're definitely in the six.
Yeah. We've also lost Tomislav Merchela, who was pretty rock solid in the back alongside Marcelo, and that was actually a big shock loss for us. I think we always knew Callum Neuenhoff was going to go. Quite surprised Kisuni Yengi's off playing League One, although I think the A-League's a better level than League One, but still, good on him. But yeah, Morgan Scheinlin, he wanted more money, and we didn't want to give him more money, and so he left. That's fine. But yeah, like I think it's a good squad. Like all those players you mentioned there, Piraeus, Brook, and Thompson, Hendricks, and there's some other ones like Gridich, and I don't know what to make of Brillante. He might have a good season, he might have a bad one. But I think it's a fairly solid squad, and I think we can make the top 4 again. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm too negative to consider anything higher than a top 4. I mean, last year was a massive improvement after so many years of failure, but at the end of it, if you told me at the start of the year we're going to make top 4, I'll be like, yeah, that's great. And then the way it kind of finished, it was quite poor. And I think there'll be, for the players still there, I think there'll be a burning desire to not go out like that again. I think that'll help drive them forward. But I guess we'll find out in due course.
Yeah, I think their young player to watch as well is Oscar Priestman, who, like the rest of the league, is from Sydney FC.
If you don't want him, we'll take him.
A really good player in the Sydney youth team, really good midfielder, can pass. So he's almost Callum Neuenhoff 2.0 for you guys. And if he gets game time, I'm pretty sure he'll be a bit of a standout and people take notice.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to our final club in the A-League men competition. It's Western United. I think they're going to have a really good season. I think they've picked up some good players. Obviously, Daniel Pena, who could turn out to be one of the best players in the competition. I was playing my career mate on FIFA for the Wanderers. I bought him from Western United. I probably spent a couple mil. I don't care because, he's worth it. I think he's going to have a really good season. Riku Danzaki's joined. Nikita Rukavica's joined from his Israeli club. James Donachie, Tom Howard-Bell, Bangasurga. There's some quality plays in there combined with, who we got there in the rest of the squad. Actually. No, it's okay. It's an okay squad. I think they're going to have a good year, but what are your thoughts on it, Samuel?
Yeah, look, I think they've obviously the ins are really good. Their outs, I guess, are some big ones. Diamante retiring is pretty big, and then not only just that, but
no, he barely played last year though.
But going to a different club, I thought he was going to come out as a coach for Western, but
I would have kept him. Yeah,
that's huge. Losing players, Jamie Young is a big loss for them as well. Hurts. Prijovic, great striker. Maybe last year wasn't Theo Lacroix, who was chalk and cheese his first season to his second, and I think kind of redeemed himself towards the end, but he's still a big loss for them. So I think and Topol Stanley as well. A lot of experience is really what they've lost. James Troisi, whether or not you think he's a great player, he's got experience in the A-League, and those kind of heads in a change room, losing them means there's a bit of changeover. I don't necessarily think it's all bad though for Western. Losing some of that experience means young players get to be a bit more creative. They other people step up. John Aloisi, I think he's a good coach, and last season would have been tough, and I think he wants them back up the top. So I think they're going to be an okay side. I think particularly Pena. I think just anytime you've got a player like that who can create absolute magic. We saw what he did for the Jets. They actually were looking like they were heading somewhere with Pena. So him playing for Western United with some more talented players around him, with someone like Rukavica up front to lay the ball into, I think they're actually quite a danger this season.
Yeah, and hopefully later in the season they'll be playing at the home ground as well, their training ground. So that'll
they're playing there from the start, aren't they? Or
no. So it's been approved by the council, but their first 3 home games are being played in Ballarat. And then hopefully after that, because the council has approved those games to be played there, hopefully they'll be able to play there. And if you haven't seen some of the photos, check them out online. The field looks pretty good. And if you go listen to Stefan Mock and Ben Garuccio's podcast, Ben obviously plays for Western, and he's seen the photos and he reckon it's looking fantastic. So hopefully around about Christmas time, we might be seeing them play a game there, or maybe in the new year, but it will be happening this season. So that's really exciting.
and it's going to be a little bit like Macedonia Park last year. Obviously, their grandstand a little bit bigger. I think it holds just over 1,000 people, and then they'll have temporary seating
Yeah, that's what I
around
believe.
the sides for about 4,000 people. I think they're allowed to have there. So look, if Western can get close to 4,000 to every home game they play there,
Mm.
for the men's, that's an awesome achievement, and I think will create a bit of an atmosphere for their games. It's got to be so much better playing there than playing at Amy Park
Yeah.
for them. So I think it's good.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a really good season for them. I think they're going to make the top four round about there. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I've got them in the top four as well. I think they'll be up there.
Yep.
Yeah, I like the look of them this season. Should we go through it and list actually?
Yeah, let's go from
We've kind
12.
of given an indication, but let's go from 12th. Who have you got?
Newcastle,
Yeah, Newcastle. Yep, same here. 11th for you.
Wellington.
I've gone for Perth Glory in
Oh,
11th.
oh. Okay, what about 10th?
That's where I put Wellington.
Okay, I'll put Macarthur.
Okay. 9th.
Perth.
I've gone Adelaide United 9th.
Oh, I'll put them 8th.
Okay, I've put the Mariners 8th. I think it's a big
Okay.
for them this season.
You got
7th.
7th.
I've got Macarthur. I think they'll pull something out of the bag.
Okay, I'll put Melbourne Victory.
Oh wow, not making the 6th. That's huge. 6th, I've got the Victory making the 6th.
Okay, I've got Brisbane.
Okay. 5th, I've got Western Sydney Wanderers.
I've got the Marinators.
4th, I got Brisbane.
I've got Western United.
Okay. 3rd, I've got Western United.
I've got Western Sydney.
Wow. And 2nd,
Melbourne City.
I initially had Sydney FC, but the more I've talked about it, I think they'll be stupid and keep Rado. I think City will be 2nd as well, and so I'm going to put Sydney.
Surprised you put them that high. You did a bit of a job on Rado.
Yeah. I think their squad's still so good, but yeah, number 1, I've got Sydney FC.
There, and I've got that team too in first.
Yeah, I think they've got such a good squad. So, look, I'm hoping it's a good season. I've got my Cove membership and looking forward to singing on the boys this season. It really is like we'll probably release this, and in a couple of days we've got a pretty special pod with a former A-Leagues player, and we're chatting with him, and he just talked about how this is one of the hardest seasons to call. Like outside maybe
that'd be
bottom
fair.
2 or 3. Each club has made some good signings. Each club seems to have something about competitive league, and that's what we love about it. Like every game, you don't know who's going to win, really. Like it is a hard league to predict, and I think that's what makes it great.
You just froze there for a sec. Are you able to just recap what you just said in the past 15, 20 seconds?
Absolutely. I think that this league is so close, and it's really hard to tell on any given match day who's going to win. So I think, it really is such a close league, so competitive, and that's what makes it great.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, it's going to be a really exciting season. You've got your Cove membership. I've got my Wanderers membership as well. Unfortunately, I won't be able to get to the home game against Wellington on Sunday, but to get my fix, I will be going to watch the Bulls against Brisbane, 3:30 in 30-degree heat. But I'm taking my mate from Bathurst, who were trying to really get him into the A-League, and he's going for Macarthur. So, the Lord help him. But, it's all about getting people involved in the A-League. So I'll be out there. If any of the 3 fans there want to come say hello, come down and say hello. But I think that's it for our preview chat, unless there's anything else you want to add.
No, I think if you've enjoyed listening to us chat for this long about the A-League season, you'll probably enjoy going back and watching our video on the preseason and just recapping most of the Australia Cup before the grand final, and just what we thought about the off season and the Women's World Cup as well. So if you enjoyed this chat, make sure to do that. And if you like watching us on YouTube, leave us a like. But if you are listening to this on your Spotify or Google Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, make sure to leave us a review as well on there. Give us 5 stars and help us, be found by more people who like listening to A-League content.
Yep. Cool. All right. We'll see you in the next video.
So, yeah.
And it'll be a special one.
Oh, yeah.